Hello friends and enemies, welcome to or back to Happy For Now. I'm here with, I don't know, it might annoy some people, but I'm here with a video that I think is a fun discussion. I think it's a fun topic. And that's the things that I think currently in my feeds across the internet are bookish recession indicators, okay? I really think there's some big indicators right now that I just keep seeing repeated across every social media platform I am on. So let's talk about it, and you can tell me what ones you think are recession indicators. One thing to note is in 2007, during that recession, we had a resurgence in paranormal romance. Monsters are often recession-ish related, apparently. We also had boom in billionaire romances. There was just a lot happening there, and the idea of a lot of people were working hard to make ends meet, so the idea of someone rich enough to just take care of you was very appealing. So these are not judgments on you if you do any of these things, if you're not doing any of these things, if you feel differently. But yeah, so these are the things. So yeah, that happened then, and that was close to when I initially started reading romance, which was around 2009. So yeah, I just think it's really fascinating, and we're gonna see what happens here with this one. So we're gonna see what I think, and then you guys can tell me in the comments what you think is one. So one thing I have noticed heavily across all of my feeds, I'm part of this, I've been doing this for a few years now though, and that is reading down your own shelf. So I've been doing the Read What You Own challenge with Shay for a couple of years here. I've really locked in this year and have been tackling it heavily because I just am tired of constantly trying to catch up versus actually tackling the problem. So there's that. That is, I think, a big one right now. I have seen so many read it or unhaul it, balancing the books, those sort of videos from people where I think it's obvious people are really, really trying their best to read down what they own in an effort to consume less in a way and or be buying the things I actually want to read versus this pile of books I bought when things were better or different. The other thing, I think book slumps are slightly indicative of the recession. I've seen a lot more people in book slumps lately again, which they happen to everyone. They're not an unconstant. They're a semi-constant in the book space, but I think I've seen more and more people discussing their book slumps lately, and I do feel like economic stress is obviously going to lead to you reading less and or reading more, depending on your life situation. I can see it making you read a lot less versus more. So there's that. The other indicator I feel like that is really weird, maybe to some, this might sound weird, but hear me out. The constant commenting from people about Libby. I can't open a bookish comment section and not see someone being like, have you tried Libby? Do you use Libby? Do you do? And this is not, as an avid library user, this is no hate to librarians, library users, the Libby app, any of those things. But it is this core assumption that one, someone lives somewhere with access to Libby, because not everywhere has a Libby. The town my mom lives in, they use Cloud Library. So it's just that is the default branding for all digital library access. Wild. But I feel at the same time people are also go to the library, use your library. And joyfully, I'm thrilled to see this. I have seen a resurgence in content of people going to the library more in the last year and a half. And I love that. I'm actually getting TikToks of people going to their local libraries. And I'm just yes, thank you. I love this. I am not a physical book person, so I just don't really go to the library, but I should start using it more as a space to go work and stuff. But I feel that in general is such an interesting indicator from the comment sections and not the creators necessarily, because I have never seen more comments about Libby and using your library and all of that in a video than I do now, because it is just constant. I also think I've seen an uptick in videos of people thrifting books, which I think is fantastic. I think that's a great option. I obviously do what you want to do for your collection, but I think that sort of thing is so indicative of one, trying to find titles that you're not seeing everywhere, but two, also saving money, getting a book for $1, $2.50, etc. is such a good deal and makes so much sense to me. So why not? I also think this is a dual one. This one I feel is two things. So this one is a recession thing and also an overproduction thing, and that is sprayed edges on Book Outlet, which I don't shop Book Outlet for reasons from years and years ago of some things that happened, but the fact that you can find sprayed edges on clearance at Books A Million, at Book Outlet, just all over the place now because of this mass production of sprayed edges, I feel like they're trying to make like the most basic book feel worth the price in a way as far as publishers go, and like an appeal thing, right? Like the first one got these sprayed edges, which I don't think is a bad thing. I have no opinions generally on sprayed edges, to be honest with you. Like I like them when I like them and I don't like them when I don't like them. But I feel like there's this like thing to like, let's upsell you on why you should buy the book sooner versus waiting because maybe someone would rather thrift it. That's my hot take. I also am gonna say there's this like push towards nostalgia specifically for millennials. Nostalgia, I would say, over anyone else's group, which makes sense. We're kind of the middle of the pack right now in a way. But that nostalgia has led to things like Harry Potter fanfic being published. I feel like pushing a resurgence of Harry Potter stuff. And I feel like when I say nostalgia, I say that because I think the people who have not reckoned with the reality of who J.K. Rowling is are still willing to buy these things, obviously, because that's a whole other thing. I'm not gonna go on my rant, but like obviously because they just don't give a shit. Like, let's be real. Like, that is plain and simple the answer to why these people are still giving this woman money, when she has specifically said like, everything you buy I consider support for what I believe in, and thus I'm giving my money to fund terrible, terrible things. But anyways, I feel like that nostalgia has been like a big push lately. And I think it's I feel like it's a recession thing. Like, remember when you were a kid and you loved this thing? Well, here's this thing that's like that thing, you know, and here's a new version of that thing that you loved. And who cares about other people because this thing makes you happy? I don't know. I think there's this weird nostalgia boom that happens when people are struggling. And I get it because you want to go back to a time that was better in your mind. So like when you were a kid. So yeah, I feel like that's part of the fic boom and all that as well to an extent. That's my personal theory. Again, these are my theories. This is nothing is concrete. The biggest, which we will talk about this in Romancelandia, one of the biggest indicators I think is that E.L. James is back writing another book. The book is YA Paranormal, a young adult paranormal romance from E.L. James, the author of 50 Shades of Grey. Is coming out this year. And let me tell you, authors who wrote in a genre switching genres during a thing like this when another genre is booming, like romantasy, recession indicator, y'all. That is why people are clinging to this subgenre and jumping ship to do different things for it. That is not a complaint. That is not a whine. I'm just telling you, like, I do feel strongly that is an indicator of that shift. The other big thing I think I've noticed is book boxes. People are not tolerating shitty book boxes not delivering promised items, or doing a good job. The turn in expectations for I'm spending this much money and you better give me quality is huge. I feel like for a long time book boxes were like a pretty book and a lot of trash inside, basically, like very much landfill clutter items. I say this is someone who's bought book boxes and has things from them and I'm like, I don't want this. I'm not donating. It's not useful, but I'm gonna have to just throw it away at some point. But like the sheer amount of like little weird trinkets and book boxes has shrunk. And I feel like book boxes are now like starting to offer just the book options because people are like so over the stuff, but also they're over book boxes not delivering the promised items. And I think that's really, really fascinating overall because it's definitely not something, I don't know that I would have like expected it, but I feel like I've seen more people commenting on what is in the book box or having less patience to keep the book box till there's a book they want. And that's part of why like I think some of these like skip methods have been enacted with some of these book boxes where like you can only skip so many a year and blah blah blah. And I think it's because people were skipping because they didn't want the book and they didn't have the money for the book, but they didn't want to lose the subscription. And like totally fair. But I also will say, in the same breath that I'm telling you I think book boxes are declining, I feel like there are book boxes for certain books that come out and I've had less struggle buying them. Like they're not selling out like they used to. I've had pretty good luck getting like an Alona Andrews. I got an Alona Andrews set for Hidden Legacy. I've gotten a Monster set from somebody that I didn't have a ton of struggle with. But like I think that's like the exception lately. Like I feel like I used to never be able to pick things up from book boxes, but instead now they're not selling out like they used to. So I do think that's an indicator as well. And then last but not least, another indicator I think that things aren't going well for some people is the sheer amount of pity marketing we're seeing and attempts to do weird things to get pity marketing points in the author space. Like authors have taken to faking bullying, they have taken to, creating drama to specifically market their book. And I just think there's like this really interesting subsection happening where we're seeing really different kinds of pity marketing happening, but also like the same things we've seen prior. But people are like struggling, obviously, so they're trying their best to market their books better. So yeah, that's the last one. I do feel like I've seen more pity marketing TikToks and threads and posts and stuff, and I'm just, every time I'm like, no. On that same note, the use of AI increasing and being accepted by people somewhat, I think, is an indicator of the pity marketing, an indicator of everything as well, because I feel like some authors coming in are just trying to obviously do it as cheap as possible, which I understand. There's a lot of cost associated with self-publishing a book, but in doing so, they're like, well, it's fine if I use AI, who cares? Even though like there is I feel like a little army of us who are like, I won't touch your book now. I'm not touching your book because you used AI, you know? So I think part of that is also like happening in tandem with the pity marketing, because I feel like their response to those things are like, well, I just can't afford it. And it's like, well, then figure it out. Get in Canva and make yourself like a shitty cover and, do your best. So yeah, those are my personal indicators of recession in the bookish space right now. And those are my hot takes. Again, theories not proven. Let me know what you think is an indicator down below, or if there are any trends like that you've noticed that have really picked up in the last year or so. If you don't want to do any of that, you can leave me a book emoji. Do the book stack emoji. Why not? You leave me a book emoji down there. I will have links to my friend anywhere I am on the internet, and I will talk to y'all in just a few days in my next video.
About
Bye.
to leave, already packing. Come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions. We'll get away. This is what we waited for.